Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So I wanted to react to this CNN segment, Abbie Phillip show. So of course they're talking about what went wrong, why didn't the Democrats win, was it because of Joe Biden, was it because of Kamala's campaign? What could have possibly been the reason why they lost in a landslide? And of course they talk about the economy, they talk about Democrats being out of touch with the struggles of regular average Americans, the cost of groceries and all of that. One person on the panel said that the Democrats seem to be unsympathetic towards all of that. We were told that no, the economy's great, even though our bank accounts said otherwise. Even though credit card debt is at an all-time high, where people are relying on their credit cards to do their regular grocery shopping, to tie them over until the next month. So they discussed those issues, and of course, all of that is true. But Abbie pointed out that it was also social issues that was a huge factor. And she mentioned the Trump ads that talked about the trans issue. Trump ran ads reminding people that Kamala was all for gender reassignment procedures being given to inmates and illegal immigrants.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
It's hard to believe, but it's true. Even the liberal media was shocked Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners and illegal aliens.
Every transgender inmate would have access.
Kamala's for they, them. President Trump is for you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Those ads were intended to remind people of her extreme leftist views. And clearly it worked, because she failed to convince people that she still didn't hold those views. She failed to convince people that she was a moderate. But there's someone on the panel who regards those ads as transphobic. So J. Michaelson, he writes for Rolling Stone. He was very offended at the use of the word boy. Jay is a trans right activist, an LGBTQ activist. And Shermichael Singleton is an analyst for CNN, and he's a conservative. And when Trump comes out and says he's going to ban procedures for minors, procedures that permanently alter their bodies, that they can't even consent to, when Trump comes out and says he's going to ban that, Jay interprets that as denying healthcare for these kids.
Just one thing, though, just because I think, just to be clear, I don't think we should over-index even on the economy as an explanation for what happened on Tuesday. No, there were a host of other things, and part of it is also, like, you look at what Republicans spent their money on. It wasn't just the economy. They were spending money on the trans ads, immigration, cultural issues. So there was another part, for Pelosi, where she talks about this. She believes that's a big part of it,
Well, but there's the base and there's the swing, right? So obviously the anti-trans ads, which I found absolutely deplorable. I worked as an LGBTQ activist for 10 years. I think it's outrageous, and I'm terrified for my trans friends and family members. Those ads were for the base, right? That was to motivate the base to get out there, and that base, that MAGA base, and the sort of, I would call, Christian nationalist base, they did show up. But I don't think that is what motivated the swing voters to vote for Trump. I do think there's a mismatch between, Democrats are really good at offering a lot of solutions.
I don't think that's right.
That's just for the base.
Yeah, not in a closing message.
I would disagree a little bit with that.
I'm not so sure personally.
I think there are a lot of families out there who don't believe boys should play girls' sports.
They're not boys. I'm not going to listen to transphobia at this table. I am not going to listen to you call a trans girl a boy.
Are you going to allow me to finish my explanation?
When you use a word that's a slur, I'm going to interrupt. That's not how it is. They're not boys. They're not boys. They're not playing girls' softball. I'm not going to sit there and listen to that.
Let's reset for a second, because, look, this is a really heated issue, right? And Shermichael, I know you. I know that you understand that people have different views on this. I think out of respect for Jay, let's try to talk about this in a way that is respectful.
Okay, so let me rephrase this, since I'm being targeted here.
I don't, just to be clear, you are not being targeted.
I am, but it's okay.
I'm specifically saying that I know that you are not intending to be transphobic.
He should know that I'm not intending. He wants to sit here and
call you
bloviate.
transphobic. I'm saying you're using a phrase that you know.
So the way regular people interpret it,
that's not regular people. That's not regular people. There's no consensus that these are actually boys. This whole thing about trans girls is a canard. We're talking about a tiny, tiny sliver of the population,
That may be the
and we're
case,
using
but
that
my point in
to
terms
take
of
away
its
healthcare from
effectiveness.
thousands of people.
Hold on, just get to your point.
My point in terms of its effectiveness. Regular people with children look at these things and they say, you know what, this is a bit too far. I do not agree with this. I don't like this. I think Democrats are going way too much to the left on social issues. They're uncomfortable with it. A lot of people believe that. A lot of families believe that. You may disagree with that reality, but that's why Republicans kept running those ads over and over and over again, because they saw the metrics suggested that
and
they were
lying
working.
in those ads over and over again, and using rhetoric like you just used, saying this is boys playing girls sports.
Well,
Which, first of all, we're
what's
talking
the-
about
what's the
5 people
language?
in the
What's the
entire
language
country.
you would prefer?
We're talking about trans girls being allowed to play with the people who are in their gender. And if you don't believe, you don't have to listen to me. Listen to the American Medical Association, the American Psychological Association.
The American Medical
This is not about the issue.
Guys,
Right?
just a second.
This is about trying to sort
Last
of
word to you. And then
rile people up and throw this in a basket with the economic uncertainty and make a case that we have to disrupt this. We have to get these people out.
Jay doesn't want to hear anything related to biology, anything related to biological fact. And this is why they lost, because they're not rooted in reality. You're not even allowed to say boy. The average American does not want their language policed, because you may see that person as a girl because they identify as a girl. But the rest of us understand that that person is still male. The rest of us understand that young girls do not want boys in their locker room, even if they're boys who identify as girls.
Hi, Dave Brown from Stand Tall. Last night, my wife and I resigned our head coaching positions for varsity and JV girls tennis at our high school we were at. For the last 25 years, I've coached varsity basketball, varsity tennis, coached in over 1,090 games, won 667 and lost 423. Have had a lot of success, but I finally reached the point where I had to resign last night because of boys playing girls tennis. And the reason we did is we're just not going to support boys playing girls sports. This is wrong on every level. These are not girls, they're boys saying they're a girl. They're playing a false sport, come back and play a girl sport and go back to playing a boy sport. All I have to do is change the paperwork at the district office. I'm not going to support it. I'm never going to lie to a kid. I'm going to support my wife, who was a pioneer in Title IX. And every other girl that's come along now expects every adult to do the right thing and protect them. We're not protecting girls now. K through 12 and women's sports. We're allowing men or boys to play in these sports. It's dangerous, it's wrong. We have boys in the locker rooms watching girls go through their get ready for practice or a match or a game. How wrong is that for a girl to have to endure something like that? What we would have called 5 or 6 years ago somebody going to jail is now acceptable in high schools and middle schools. This is absolutely wrong when a girl has to fear this, but she can't say anything. And if you're in a public school, at least in Oregon, you can't say anything or you will be ostracized, you will be put down, you will be shamed, and you just don't have a voice. People can't stand up and say anything, but I will. I'm going to say this is wrong on every level. You should contact every school board member that you have in your area and say there's no way we're doing this. Contact administrators, but say it, and say it strong.
When it comes to these policies that allow trans athletes to compete in girls' competitions, a lot of the time they don't have to do anything. They just need to say they identify as a girl. So a young girl is in a locker room with a boy, with somebody who was competing with boys not too long ago. To that girl, that's exactly the situation that she is in. It doesn't matter how the person identifies. That doesn't change anything. But now what they're doing is they're conditioning girls to be okay with it. To be okay with a boy or a man in the locker room. Because it's bigoted to not be okay with it. The thing that this activist needs to understand is not everybody thinks like you. Not everybody has subscribed to your religion. Whereas somebody says they identify a certain way, you have to see them that way and ignore all biology. Now again, if somebody wants to live their life a certain way, identify a certain way, this is a free country. Most people don't have an issue with adults identifying how they want to identify. But people have an issue when that infringes upon the rights of other groups. People have an issue when that erases women. Because we're now saying that a man who identifies as a woman is a woman. And the laws that pertain to protecting females also apply to men now. People have an issue with that. And as Shermichael rightly said, most people don't want boys competing in sports with their girls. Most people don't want that. The latest poll that was taken of American voters, 72% said they were against it. And what these people usually do is they downplay it. They say it's just a small segment of the population. That's true. They say it's just confined to elementary school kids. But they don't usually segregate anyway when it comes to sports. They all play sports together, boys and girls. But they try to convince people that we're only talking about elementary school kids.
Well, I think there have to be standards and competitive standards of fairness. I mean, the Olympics have that. You can have that at a college level where there are different ways of having standards to make sure that someone doesn't have, a trans athlete doesn't have an unfair competitive advantage. Those standards are, I would say, for the experts to come up with, like they have in the Olympics, like they have in some collegiate sports. But when you're talking about the sports of young kids, you know, I have kids who play flag football or other things that are for kids. I don't.
We're not talking about the 7-year-olds. Nobody's talking about the 7-year-olds.
When it comes to sports on the high school level, that means we have teenage boys in the girls' locker room. That means we have boys who have gone through male puberty competing against girls, all under the guise of identity. We know the story of Leah Thomas. Girls in college who are made to change in a locker room for swimming, where it takes 20 minutes to put on these swimsuits with a fully intact man. These girls did not consent to that, and therefore they should not be subjected to that. I don't care how somebody identifies. This happens right up to Olympic level. It's not just elementary school kids. And they like to say it's a small percentage of the population. But that doesn't help their argument. If anything, that shows why people are against this. Why is everything being turned upside down to appease a small percentage of the population? Then on top of that, it's not healthcare that we're talking about when it concerns children. It is the mutilation of children. We are talking about hormones and puberty blockers being given to kids who can't consent. They couldn't possibly know the long-term effects of being on that medication. So that analyst is 100% correct. Most Americans don't want this. Most Americans don't want this shoved down their throats. Trump's campaign was successful because he showed that he was going to bring back common sense. He showed that he was going to prioritize the main concerns that people have. And that's surviving from day to day. Sometimes you hear these people speak and they sound very privileged, because their concern is policing people's language, ensuring that everybody adheres to their ideology rather than can you afford groceries, feeding their families. They don't come across as people living in the real world, they don't. Then on top of that, you have to worry about what your kids are learning in school. Are they being told that there are more than two genders? Are they being told that they're in the wrong bodies? People have enough to worry about when it comes to making ends meet day to day, without now having to worry about the social issues. Is my kid going to come home and tell me that I need to use different pronouns or a different name? Is my kid going to be exposed to illicit material in school, all under the guise of LGBT education? People don't want that. And that message was made loud and clear when it came to how they voted. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Like, comment and subscribe. Take care of yourselves, and God willing, I will see you in the next video.